Peter Dutton has revealed a slew of measures he plans to take to the next federal election in last night's budget reply. The opposition leader has tackled energy, housing and the rising cost of living, saying more needs to be done to support Middle Australia. Joining us live now is Nationals leader David Littleproud. David Littleproud, thank you for your time this morning. Firstly, will you support or oppose the job seeker increase of $40 a fortnight?
Well, we've said we'll be constructive on this. In fact, we've put forward an alternative solution that should be considered around allowing those that are on job seeker to go and work, to participate in workforce, to earn more than the $40, but not on the Australian taxpayer, but in the jobs market. And that takes away the tax burden of the Australian taxpayer. It adds to our nation's productivity. We get a return on investment. And so what we want to do is sit down and be constructive with the government and say, let's look at these ideas that may take away that burden of the full $40 in being able to share that and allowing these people to get back into the workforce. The statistics show that if you actually start to get people to participate at one level or another in the workforce, they'll invariably become full-time participants. And that's why we think this is a common sense solution that should be explored, but we'll be constructive with the government in making sure that we go to support these people who are on payments to be able to fight the cost of living crisis that Labor's created.
Okay. It's not clear, though, whether you're going to support or oppose it, though.
Well, we want to see if the government will be prepared to adopt this proposal that we've put forward, one that we put forward around allowing pensioners and veterans to be able to work and earn more without affecting their pensions and payments. So we need to look at it in totality, and I think there's a lot of modelling that could be done and can be done quickly, that we can work through this, but there needs to be some support for those that are on these payments. The cost of living crisis that Labor's created is there and it's real. So we want to be constructive and make sure that we support those people that are doing it tough.
We learnt on Tuesday there's going to be a biosecurity tax. Are you concerned about how this is going to impact farmers?
Well, this is a fresh food tax on farmers that you'll all have to pay. But this is just pure insanity. When you think that they are charging Australian farmers a tax to pay for their foreign competitors' biosecurity risks so that they can bring their product to this country, what we were going to do and what we've outlined in the budget reply speech last night is that we're going to charge the importers, the foreigners, to bring their product here because they're the ones that pose the risk. That's common sense. And so we had this proposal all but implemented before the election. In fact, it was going to be implemented before that, but it had to be postponed because of COVID. And this cost recovery model of exporters and importers, of who poses the risk, particularly the importers, because that's where most of the risk to our nation's biosecurity environment comes from, should be paid by them. And so what we are saying is we'll scrap this fresh food tax on farmers that you'll pay for at the grocery store, and we'll put in place what we were implementing anyway, which is a container levy, which will probably be somewhere between $20 and $25. And the industry themselves knew it was coming. In fact, it was to be implemented by December last year had we won the election. So Murray White has been asleep at the wheel. He's had cost blowouts in the department because he hasn't taken the necessary action, and the only action he's now taking is to tax his own farmers rather than the foreign competitors.
So what do you expect the fallout to be here? How much are you expecting, the cost of food, groceries will go up as a result of this?
Well, this is a $153 million tax on Australian farmers that'll have to be passed on to you. You complement that with what they've done with the road user charge for truckies, a 19% increase, and then stripped away all the infrastructure spend, so they're not even getting the roads that they're paying for. And then the energy costs that are there that food processors are paying for, you're actually already seeing a 6 and 8% increase in your cost of food in the inflation figures. And it's been driven by these measures by this government, taking away their workforce, scrapping the ag visa, so there's less production, you reduce supply, you increase prices, and the energy price to process your food has for many processors have more than doubled, in some cases tripled. So that all gets passed on to you, and you're seeing that in the inflation figures, that food is one of the biggest increases in our inflation number and what's holding inflation up significantly.
The Queensland Government is in conversations about ways the Pinkenba quarantine facility could be used possibly to house people experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness. Is that something you'd support?
Yeah, I think we need to be constructive and pragmatic about the options. There's also the Queensland Government spent $220 million on a white elephant out at Toowoomba that effectively had less than probably 100 people in it. So that's also available, and I know that it's now been handed back to the Wagner family, and I think the Wagner family probably are better to handle this than the state government because they'll actually do something constructive with it. But we should look at these options, and we've got to understand that the housing crisis that we've got, we need to think differently and have to have a different conversation, particularly with those that want to live in capital cities. The only way to solve this is to increase supply, and the quickest way to increase supply is actually to go up, not out. And that's how you get density into and supply in quickly. And so state and local governments are going to have to change their planning rules to allow developers to do that. And it'll also protect our native bushland and agricultural land for what it should be, which is producing your food and fibre. So there are actions that could be taken quickly. The Queensland Government should also change their planning pen so that developers can go up instead of out.
David Littleproud, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.